Great. So welcome everybody to our hybrid version of our February meeting. We are of the Wharf District Council. With some apologies for the AV, although the AV in here is great. Thank you very much, Stephen, and folks from the Boston Harbor Hotel. We have a number of people here in the Leventhal Center. We're hoping for more in the future as we continue our hybrid meetings. But for those people who are joining us remotely, welcome as well. We're going to start, as we typically do, with a report from the police, right? Police. Yeah, and Officer Ciampa is on there, and we look forward to hearing what's been going on lately, Officer Ciampa.
Hi, Mark. Thank you. I know we haven't met in a couple of months. Overall, nothing too much. I'll try to be brief. I know you guys always have a busy agenda, and next month I'm going to do my best to make my best effort to get there in person. I'd love to do so. So with all that being said, we had a radio call at 6 in the morning on Tuesday, February 21st, over at 510 Atlantic Ave, the Intercontinental Hotel. We had a woman that was staying there in one of the rooms in the 900 level, stated that she had an argument with an unknown individual. Words were exchanged in which she found to be disrespectful, and he hit her with a bottle. Police arrived, and she really wasn't too cooperative. Didn't refuse DMS. Was just a small cut, so it was nothing too serious, thankfully. And like I said, just kind of declined going any further with police. Secondly, on January 27th, 2 in the morning, like I say, nothing good happens that late. We had an individual flag down a cab. He got in, the cab driver, he asked him to drive him to Milton. The cab driver stated that he wanted to see, that he had some money or a card to pay for it. The individual said he didn't, to just drive him. A small argument or disagreement occurred, and the individual pulled a knife out and stuck it in between the crack. There was a little crack there, I guess, where you could talk, and he stuck it out towards the cab driver. Cab driver stated he was going to call 911, in which he did. The individual fled, ran across the street, ran across the Greenway towards the Atlantic Ave side, and attempted to flag down another cab. This cab driver was unsure if he got in that cab or not, but we did have no other calls on that individual that night, so hopefully he didn't get in and found some other way home. And then just lastly, 7 a.m. Wednesday, February 8th, officers responded to another person with a knife that was at 89 Broad Street at the Hilton. This incident involved two valet employees, in which one supposedly pulled a knife on the other after another argument. The argument was over that one of the employees opened the office door too quickly and almost hit the other employee, so words were exchanged. One of the employees stated, like I said, that the other pulled a knife out on him, and officers were unable to recover any weapon. They did speak with some security in the area. They said that the argument did ensue. However, they had to make the arrest for the assault and battery with a dangerous weapon, and detectives will further investigate that matter. Other than that, just the late night calls and stuff like that we always really see, but nothing out of the ordinary. That's all I have. If you guys have any questions for me, and like I said, next month I'm going to do my best effort to get over there in person.
Questions for Officer?
There seems to be more homeless around. Can you comment on that, please?
In the city, we don't gauge typically the exact numbers, at least not in my office. So, you may be seeing it, and that's, you know, it is obviously a concern of ours. We're trying to, you know, just give them the best services that we have on our end. But as far as the exact numbers, I don't know any, sir, if it is up or down or for whatever reason. And then, you know, we do have typically for January, February, the past 2 months, you know, we're seeing 60, 70 degrees. So maybe they are outside a little more frequently than usual for the winter time.
Is there
What is
someone
your usual
in the mayor's
response? to
office
the-
that may be able to provide that number? You think,
Excuse me, Suzanne?
is there someone like neighborhood services or someone that might be able to provide that number at a point?
Whether or not there's an increase?
Yes, they must have some kind of information.
I believe there is a census with the city.
Mhm.
But you know, I can get a little more information on that matter and kind of maybe shoot an email out on where to obtain that information. But I believe it is a census kind of, yeah, and I think it is around this year. So this time of year, I should say. I'm sorry. So I can try to look into some of that and get you some information and just shoot it out to the email.
That would be great.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Officer, could you speak to the situation downtown Crossing?
What's that, sir?
Kids on bicycles and muggings or violence down there?
Yeah, so Macy's, we did have, you know, Macy's has upped their game a little bit with, like, you know, as far as, you know, having their hands tied, they've kind of put matters into our hands, which makes things a little easier. We do have the frequent calls. You know, this is something that isn't really new. We've been dealing with this. I've been down here in the district for 10 plus years. And, you know, it's definitely something that we've always battled with the younger individuals, especially getting out of school, especially a week like this with school vacation in the summer months. It is a little tougher to deal with kids not being in school. I can say that our officers are doing a great job. We're trying to, you know, I think from last year to this year, you know, there were a few incidents on the news last year, and you know, really, it seems as though it has settled down, and our officers are doing the best job that they can.
Thank you. Other questions? Great. Officer Ciampa, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark.
We are joined by City Councilor Gabrielle Coletta. Thank you very much, Councilor, for joining us. Yeah.
Annual review.
Great.
Just to let you know what we can up to, but this is really just to introduce myself to all. I've gotten the pleasure to work with you as a former employee of the new experience. And as of whenever pending litigation goes through.
Mark, we can't hear anything.
Sorry.
Maybe she needs-
Actually, Councilor, maybe if you can come down this direction.
maybe, why don't I move?
Thank you for letting us know, Norm. We're, as you know, working out the kinks in our AV. Thank you very much for joining us.
But here to introduce myself.
And the camera might be there, although I'm not sure if it's, let's see. There we go. How's that?
Hi, everybody. Still living in this hybrid world here. So I'm happy to be here in person. I know that this is your first meeting in person for a while. It might have been the first last month. But I really hope to be a presence here moving forward and or my staff, just because, as I was mentioning before, through the redistricting process, and the Boston City Council, I was so lucky enough to acquire this area in my district in District 1. And so I'm very honored to represent this district. Like a lot of the work that you're doing in regards to climate resiliency is very much aligned with my priorities. And so I wanted to just come and introduce myself, let you know who I am, talk to you about my priorities, especially before budget season. Because right now we're all figuring out what our budget asks are, but it's good for me to let you lead the way, for me to listen to you and better understand how I can advocate for you throughout the entirety of the budget. And then answer any questions that you might have. So I'm not sure how much time I have.
As much as you'd like.
Much to the chagrin of those presenting after me, but I promise I'll be.
We have 20 minutes for this.
All right, great. So.
I'm doing my best. I can't.
And if those on the call can't hear me, just let me know, or if I need to slow down, happy to do that as well. But I am.
Counselor?
I
this
think
is-
it's
this-
easier to hear you if you face the direction you were just facing.
Right.
Okay,
It-
is this good?
Again. How's that?
Is this good?
Yes.
Okay, great.
I'm so sorry.
No,
This is the first time we've
no,
had to do
it's all good. Thank you all so much again for having me. So just quick bio about me, for those of you who don't know me. I just was elected last May in a special election to replace Lydia Edwards, who is now our state senator. Prior to that, for about 4 years, I was her chief of staff, where I worked on everything from the Suffolk Downs development, which is the largest land development in the history of Boston, and working through that with the BPDA, working on housing affordability issues, environmental justice, and climate resiliency, as well as a lot of the nuts and bolts issues of City Hall, which is also very important. And I always like to make sure that I bring that up. And then in between then, for about 6 months, I was with the New England Aquarium. You know that I have some of my New England Aquarium folks on the call, where I worked on ensuring that the waterfront remained resilient, inclusive, and accessible for everybody. So working with them to really push their agenda forward in ensuring that the aquarium is known as the climate leader that it is, and making sure that we have some solutions for coastal flooding here in the city of Boston. And then the special election happened. Again, I'm so lucky to be the counselor. And then since then, I've really prioritized trying to be as accessible and responsive as possible. Your city councilor is the closest elected official to the people. And so it's incumbent upon you to really be a great community and understanding and learning from you all. And that's the perspective that I bring. In addition to that, the policy buckets that I will be prioritizing, and I have been prioritizing, falls under climate resiliency, housing affordability, planning, dictating development in a very smart and responsible way, education, and then the nuts and bolts, as I mentioned. So I just wanted to update you on a few things that we've been doing in terms of the climate resiliency aspect of it. I know that you all know this. You already have your resilience task force up and running, which I think is commendable. And it really is a model in the city of Boston. And so expanding that and building on what you have already done citywide for all of the 47 miles in Boston is my goal. We can't be taking a parcel by parcel approach to resiliency any longer. And so my main objective has been to beat this drum on a citywide level to get some attention to this, to get some resources allocated, and there has been some movement to Mayor's credit. And I see we're also joined by State Senator Lydia Edwards' office too, that is here.
Welcome.
And they've been an incredible ally, as well as State Representative Aaron Michaelowicz. The very first thing that I did on the council floor was call for a hearing about a district-wide planning process for the city of Boston. And this is where we had Chief Arthur Jameson come and talk about how he's working with development projects and proposals and prioritizing resiliency and coastal flooding or mitigating against coastal flooding. And then we also had Chief Reverend Mariama Whiteham in there. And we talked through the gambit of some of the strategies that the city of Boston is implementing. I think we all know that climate ready Boston is very general. I think it's very general solution to some of the problems that we're facing. This area is ground zero for flooding. If this area gets flooded, the rest of the downtown core gets flooded. And that to me is very scary for the people who live here, which is all of you. This is a neighborhood first and foremost. It's also very scary for the economic vitality of the city. And so in that hearing, we identified that there is a lack of cohesion with the private and public sectors and trying to strengthen that as much as possible, and a lack of coordination and specifics that you all can look to when you're thinking about redoing your coastline, specific nature-based solutions that you can implement. So that conversation is ongoing. I'm going to be having a working session pretty soon. I don't think we have anything on the books yet, but I would love to invite you all there and talk about your climate resilient task force and some of the work that you're doing, so that moving forward, the city knows what is successful and what is not. There has been some movement. So just recently, Climate Ready Boston and the Army Corps of Engineers are partnering up to, and I see some heads nodding. So I see this as a step in the right direction. During the budget process last year, I was the one on the council floor saying, we need a waterfront czar. We need the Office of Waterfront Resiliency. We need the director of, and we need those resources allocated in the budget. That was not something that I ended up getting, but I see this partnership as a step in the right direction. There's also a part of Mayor Wu, and we have Shada here, who is incredible in our North End liaison. Mayor Wu, as part of her executive order, has put together a coastal resilience task force, which will include the CFO, the Environment Department, the BPD, to do a feasibility study and to identify federal grants, state grants, and partnerships to further resilience along the water. So all of this is just to say that this is a priority of mine, and I see a lot of synergies here with this group and with my office. And so just think of me as a partner. Please think of me as an ally and a champion in this work. And I do look forward to representing you and representing the system moving forward on this topic. And I'll quickly go through some of the other things. So planning, dictating, development. There's a lot that is going on in the city. I'm very happy with the way in which Chief Jameson has approached his role. And I have seen already in instances of Plan East Boston and Plan Charlestown, these are master plans trying to create a framework of what the neighborhood will look like moving forward. And so just holding him accountable to some of the things that he's been saying, right? Ensuring that the neighborhoods understand how much growth we can absorb responsibly and moving forward in that direction. So that is not something that I know too much about when it comes to the Wharf District Council. And I would love to learn more from you all, some of the successes in the past of development, some things you would like to see moving forward with the Article 80 project or Article 80 process, because that's all going to be reformed. And I would love to continue to be your voice in the council as those conversations move forward through hearings and working sessions, and then ultimately a home rule to the state legislature. Affordable housing. I grew up in East Boston. I still cannot afford my own neighborhood just based on the rising rents and lack of home ownership opportunities that allow me to create generational wealth. And so not just here, but across the city is an issue. And so prioritizing that, ensuring that people who live here, want to stay here, can do so and thrive, while also building that generational wealth. So we're looking at match programs when it comes to homeownership opportunities, trying to figure out stabilizing rent prices, which I know is a hot topic here, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have for me on that front as that conversation continues to the council. But prioritizing affordable housing to me is very important, and actually making sure that whatever is put forth as affordable is actually affordable, and through the AMIs and all of that. And I can get very wonky, but I'll stop there and happy to talk through it if you'd like. And then world-class education and BPS, there's a lot of uncertainty and instability in our public school system. I will continue working with Superintendent Mary Skipper on everything when it comes to teacher salaries and retaining and recruiting new teachers, academic rigor in all of our public schools. I'm a Latin Academy grad, so I'm an exam school graduate, and so I know how important that education was to me and set me really on this trajectory to where I am now. trying to figure out how we can expand that into the neighborhoods. Right now, we're saying to about 14,000 students who are eligible, there's only 1,400 seats. And so too bad, so sad, you're gonna have to go to another institution that might not give you the academic burden that you deserve. So trying to expand that out is really, really important to me. And then last but not least, just making sure that your city is a world-class city, making sure our streets are paved, our sidewalks are taken care of. On my walk over here, I did see bricks that were missing. I'm already taking mental notes. I know that shout is on it. But this is a world-class city and it should remain so. And it really comes down to basic city services. And it's always the last thing that I talk about, but it's the one thing that our office works on the most. It's about 80% of our calls. What are we doing about this? What are we doing with the trees, the streetlights, and all of that? So it's always a priority. You know, it's the last thing I bring up. But our office is always here for any consistent service request that you have. And then separate from that, outside of City Hall and policy, I grew up being raised by community advocates who took me out to civic association meetings. They brought me to donation drives. My mom was a parent advocate, and she really taught me how to give back to the neighborhood. And so that's something that I want to cultivate and encourage residents to do. So always, we're thinking about how can we give back to the neighborhood. So we do regular trash pickups. We're asking BPS students, we're going to have donation drives and competitions on how to donate socks or to donate socks, and just various other food drives. But we're always going to make sure that we have a summer service initiative and continue that service initiative throughout the year. So we're working on that now. We're going to chief of staff who is currently working on it with our outreach manager. But just be aware that that's coming down the pipe, and I might ask some of you to help me push that out and to cultivate and encourage that level of volunteerism in the district. So that's it for right now. I would love to answer any questions that you have and just really stress that
I have a
I'm here.
question. I have a question, please.
Okay.
Can you explain the logic behind affordable development when you increase the fees to the developer and make more units affordable in a given project? How does that make for more affordable housing?
So I can speak generally to affordable, and thank you for this question. We desperately need affordable housing. It's something that is already put forth in the city in terms of the IDP policy. It's the inclusionary development policy, where anything that is proposed has to be at 13%. Right now, there's a push to make it 20% is the threshold. But what we're seeing right now in the neighborhoods across Boston is that there will be 10 units proposed, and based on the IDP model, you'll get 1 unit of affordability that really isn't affordable to the folks that need it most. And I think just as a moral obligation for me and for all of us living in the city, we should be inclusive of who we're building for. And these are income restricted units. It's something that the city has done for a very, very long time and will continue to do. But we need to be always prioritizing affordable housing for folks in Boston, just as a means of being inclusive and planning for the inclusivity of people in the city of Boston.
Thanks for the question, Ray.
Thank you.
I would like to also say, Council, that we're very eager to share with you the report that we have just finished the draft version of. I think you'd probably like to see it before it's complete, and we would like your input on it.
Thank you.
Before it is complete. So if there's a way that we can schedule some time with you to let you see the progress that we're making, as you said, it has the potential to be a model. The folks from Wharf have done a really, really great job for us, and I think
What this?
our consulting firm,
Okay.
Eric.
Beautiful.
And I think you too will be heartened.
Yeah.
So if we can find a time to meet with you, we'd like to do that.
I'm excited to take a look at it, and anything that you want me to push out, I'm happy to, just to the
Right.
city and to whoever.
Right, yeah, we're in the stage now where we're trying to get some feedback before we finalize it. Matthew.
Yeah, just related to that, I read last week that the PDA has approved has authorized funds for a study of coastal resilience at Wharf in particular. And which is great because the business I work for, Boston Cruises, is based there. So that great to see that, but it wasn't clear to me in what I read that work will somehow link up with the work that we've already been doing for the last year to 2 years. So I think it would be a great exchange of information. I just want to make sure that is on. You're an advocate for that, on behalf of the work that we've been doing. That we link those things up.
For sure, and this is the first time I'm hearing of that, so thank you. And we can't be working inside of it when it comes to this. We all know the water will find the path of least resistance, so we have to ensure that every single parcel or every single project is really creating that for.
I would just like to add, you've written something up that you were speaking at. If you could provide us with a copy, I'd be happy to include it in with the meeting notes as well as on our internet.
Whatever it is that you would like to share with the broader audience, either through our website or anything else, because we look forward to having a strong relationship with your office.
And like I said, it's been since May. I don't know how many months that is, but it seems like it's been a very, very long time just because of the amount of work that we put in. And so I could go through all of this, although I would take an hour and I want to be respectful of everybody's time. So I will welcome the opportunity.
We'll follow up with your office, and I've been dealing with chat. So
yeah, and Jack and Bergamo was our North End waterfront liaison, and he will be attending these meetings on a regular basis.
Which is going to help. Yeah, that's great.
So we'll be sure to prepare any updates from our office, things that we think you need to know, and then on the opposite side of that, please let us know any community events that are happening, things you think that we should be at, or events that we should be a part of.
One other thing, Councilor, that you may be aware of, and if not, we just want to make sure that the members of the Wharf District are very concerned about the proposed changes to State Street. We're all of us very much in favor of bicyclists, bike lanes, reducing congestion and all those good things. The problem is that if you're in this district and you want to go, you can't go east except through the tunnel. That's north and south are bad enough, but there's really only one route to go west, to go to the rest of the city, and that's State Street. And the city's proposal is to make State Street go from 2 lanes to 1 lane. And so there would be only 1 lane for us to get out of this part of Boston. And so we have done a study. We proposed alternate bike routes. It's a very, they plan to redo State Street, which is great because it needs it badly. But the proposal that we have offered has not gotten the traction that we would have hoped. And all it does is it does 1 bike lane west. It doesn't even do both directions. So we would really like to ask for your help in rethinking how a more robust bike system that also doesn't increase the really problematic traffic that we have already, because it's not just the traffic on State Street, it's what the backup off State Street does to all the rest of this district. It can take us 45 minutes on, it's all about rush hour. It doesn't matter at midnight on a Sunday night, but it can take us on rush hour. It can take us 45 minutes to get here from South Station. We've all experienced it. It's really tough. And part of that is because it's backed up trying to get up State Street. So we don't actually know, Suzanne, at the moment, really where that. Yeah. But we have gotten clear feedback that they intend to proceed despite our concerns.
Okay. This has been going on now.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for flagging. I did know a little bit about it, but I wasn't in the details, but
Yeah.
I certainly will be. I always love to make sure that I have a good snapshot of what is happening. So traffic counts, data, how many bicyclists are actually using this?
Yeah.
What's the car count down State Street? When did they?
The problem is,
institute this? Was
well,
this
the
during
problem,
pandemic?
yeah, exactly. So that none of the data really works.
Okay.
The other thing, there's something that they put together, something we put together, which we would share with you and your team. You have to be careful with the data because they've taken data, optimum periods, and not taken that optimum for them. And not taking it when it's negative against their cause. So it's flawed data. So.
And we're very clear, we have all that data, so we can whenever the time is right, and we don't know when that is,
Yeah.
we will happily share that information. You know, Matthew and his group are very concerned about the impact on buses, right, as well.
And the tourist buses,
Tourist buses, school buses, area. We have not yet seen tour buses come back at full force, but we've seen increasingly coming back as tourism increases down here. So yeah, we're very concerned about the impact on Atlantic, on Surface Road, and even on old Atlantic. And so the lower portion of States.
and the other thing is that we want to be sure that streets are not changed without the community having heard what they're going to do and why they want to do it. They have not done so in the Wharf district, but there have been occasions where people wake up in the morning and the direction of their street is now going in the opposite direction, or they've eliminated the lane. We've been able to work with them so that they haven't done that. And I'd like to continue that so that those avenues of dialogue stay open and we don't end up finding out things have changed without any input at all.
Well, happy to look at anything that you have. Please send that my way and I'll become more educated on what you folks have found. I also want to be sure to contact the chief of streets and better understand what the timeline is looking like on this.
That would be helpful.
And just open up a clear line of communication.
Right.
We just keep talking.
Very good.
Oh, there are. Oh, sorry. Yes. Okay. Let's see. No, I don't see any other questions, please. I'm having difficulty. I don't see any hands raised. Anyone else have any questions that you would like for the counselor? I don't see it at the moment, but we will look forward to working with you going forward.
Likewise, I was
Thank you
gonna
very
say, this isn't the last time I'll be here, so I really look forward to working with everybody.
Yeah.
And just fostering the vibrancy of this neighborhood.
Yeah.
I will always do that.
Yeah, you might pass along if you have a chance to talk to the mayor. We have a longstanding tradition of having, I mean, for many years, the mayor come at some point during the summer to talk to the Wharf District. And we usually get a good turnout from counselors and state reps and folks. And we've typically hosted that. The Aquarium has been generous to host it for us. I think it's a good opportunity for the mayor to get in front of us and for us to talk to the mayor. And so we haven't succeeded that yet. If you have a chance to bring that up, that would be wonderful.
I'll be sure to work with you.
Great.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you too. I have a separate engagement.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, everyone.
We have a presentation by Marie St. Fleur, I believe, about the progress they're making on the High Street dispensary. Marie, are you on the line?
Good evening, everyone. And I'm And I am joined by my colleague, Collins Boget.
I'm sorry, say that again, please.
Collins Boget.
Yeah,
Collins.
there we go. Okay, do you have a presentation you want to share with us?
We do, and Collins has it, so if he can have access, he can share it with everyone and we can begin.
I think he should have. There you go. Very good.
Yeah. Okay. Good evening, everyone. I want to thank you all for giving us the opportunity to provide you an update on what's been going on at 200 High Street. It's a journey, and we're making our way there. We've been before you a number of times, and we're pleased to be able to share our progress. So with that, I want to just a quick reminder of who we are. And as we've been before, I think it's almost a year and a half, probably almost 2 years now since we started this process. So as you know, that we are a locally owned cannabis dispensary. Our members are all from Boston, grew up, born, or have been working here forever. Gosder Sharalis is one of our main partners, and Gosder grew up in the Boston area, went to BC, was a lineman for the Boston College Eagles, and then went on to play as a lineman for the Detroit Lions. And there's a story behind that, and I'll share that shortly. Collins Boget has been the manager for his father's store, Boget Tailoring, which is located in downtown Boston. And Paul Holian is a business owner in the downtown area and has been there for many years. And I'm an Upham's Corner kid. I grew up in Upham's Corner in Dorchester, served as a rep for many years, and now have had an opportunity to join the private sector. So this is home, when we care deeply about what happens in this city and how things happened here. And so when we decided to move forward with this dispensary, our focus was really around health and wellness. We said, what could we bring to the space that was different? What was different is that you have a majority, honestly, the majority of the owners for this dispensary are all folks of color. Interestingly enough, most of us will probably have connection to the island of Haiti, and which is very different. And then what's also interesting about us is that we really wanted to hone in on making certain that diversity at all levels is represented at the store, and that the wellness issue is highlighted in a particular way because of the experience of our partners. And so with that, next slide. We entered into a number of agreements with you over the years as we worked towards getting this dispensary off the ground. Many of you were very, very supportive, had opportunities to speak with you in advance. You shared with us your concerns, and we hope that we listened closely. And with the help of Suzanne and Mark, and all of you, we were able, and I know Chris is at the table as well, had opportunities to speak with them, came up with a good neighbor agreement, which was both, we hope, reflective of what the Ward District Council cared about and what we as Bostonians should care about in making certain that the city continues to thrive with these new businesses coming on. One of the things you talked about was that you wanted a space for some of your equipment. And so we worked on that, and we now have an entrance that we'll be able to share with you, whether it's a space available for the Wharf District and its collaborators to be able to use. There's a community room, so we had to create an entrance on Broad Street. As part of the conversations we've had with you, you said you did not want any kind of consumers using Broad Street at all as an entrance, and so that is not happening. But we know that as the Wharf District Council needed a separate entrance from the dispensary to be able to access the space. And so that was created. So that is the community room. We also agreed that we wanted to be able to work with you, the Boston Police Department, the Greenway, to make certain that we continue to, one, promote healthy use and safe use of cannabis, but limit public use of cannabis as is required under the law. And so we agreed to work with you in order to fund that in some form or fashion as agreed by the BPD, Rangers, Greenway, Wharf District Council. We'll come to some agreement upon if we can't get a detail to make certain that someone's around in order to support us in that effort. We also wanted to make certain, as you have asked, I know that Mark and Suzanne, at the last conversation with you, you asked about handicap accessibility. It is handicap compliant. I think we have a mistake on that. And so it is definitely handicap compliant and will be accessible. There also was, as I just heard your city councilor talking eloquently about the concerns around climate resiliency. And so we've made a commitment of $250,000 to support the Climate Resilience Initiative, which will be paid over a 5-year period. And again, we've heard your concern around the reduction of and mitigation of traffic. And so we made a commitment. All that is part of the Good Neighbors Agreement that we've signed, all that and more, in order to make certain that we prioritize non-automated means to access the facility in an effort to mitigate the traffic concerns in the downtown area, particularly within the Wharf District. In order to we were able to do that, and with your support, we were able to get the host community agreement, and we were also to be able to get our application to move forward before the Boston, the Cannabis Control Commission. And so we thank you. We thank you very much. And we really look forward to the time when we become dues-paying member of the organization to sit at the table with you as a member business. And we hope that will happen really soon. Exciting news to share with you. Wellness is our focus. And so one of the things we talked about, and all of us as owners, was how do we do that? We wanted at least to partner with someone who had the skill set, who have been doing that for a while. So we entered into a merchandise licensing agreement with an NFL Hall of Famer, Calvin Johnson. Calvin was a teammate of Gosder's when he played for the Detroit Lions, and both of them have had friends that have been really severely impacted by CTE, and they themselves, having been suffered from significant health concerns as a result of their work, understand the importance that cannabis can play as a wellness pathway. And so we've partnered with Calvin's firm, Primitive Wellness. And so this is Calvin. We partnered with him to drive our wellness agenda. He currently has relationships, and we want to build on that with institutions of higher education, Harvard, MIT, and Johns Hopkins, really to focus on the research regarding the benefits of cannabis to treat chronic pain, cognitive issues, and medical conditions, as I indicated earlier, such as CTE. And so we're excited to be part, and saying, sitting in Boston, what an opportunity if we could play a role in moving that agenda forward. And that is part of our intent in partnering with Calvin. Calvin's not an owner. It's just simply a licensing agreement to allow us to piggyback on the good work that he's been able to do in that wellness field. Next. So as promised, why are we here today before you? Well, we're before you today because the exterior of the building is something that I know many of you were concerned about, to figure out what that would look like. We love the building. I mean, that we're not changing much of anything. We're just painting it up and giving it a clean look, a clean exterior look. We've painted it up, and then in compliance with cannabis control rules, we're creating a frosted look of the windows so that you can't see inside. But we wanted to keep it clean and just, and we even kept the awning, and we just updated it, so that it's new, because the old cloth that was around it was kind of old. So we updated to make it clean. So the build out of the inside the dispensary has started, and there's I have to share with you, right, as part of that. So we've been waiting for architectural review. I think we submitted a request for architectural review back in August of 2022. We finally got the architectural review done this month. And so we're excited about that. We're able to take that information now. The architectural review is happening with the city of Boston. So now that the city of Boston has approved the architectural review, it's been sent to the Cannabis Control Commission so that they can come in now, and they're welcome to come in and inspect the space, but they can't inspect the space until we get our permit, our fire alarm permit, which we submitted this month, and hopefully we'll get that soon. And once we get our fire alarm permit, we'll be able to get apply for an occupancy permit. Again, back to the city for that. All this takes a little bit of time, but in the interim, because we have a provisional, we're able to get in and begin the work, because it's very little work the build out is for us, because the bones of the building are there. So we can show you right now what the building outside of the building is going to look like, but just the floor plan, to refresh your recollection. And Colin's eyes are better than mine, and he might be able to walk you through this a little bit better than I can. If you take a look at the top left-hand corner, you'll see the community space that you've requested. And you'll see that there's a staircase that's been built in order to allow you access off Broad Street, and your organizations will have access to that and no one else. Our dispensaries on the front end over on High Street, and you will come in on the right at the street level, and you would follow that Z-shaped around. That when you walk into the door, there'll be someone there to check your license. When you get inside and before you enter the lobby, there's someone there again to check your license, and then you're allowed onto the floor in order to purchase or what you need to purchase. There's a beautiful bar that's in that space, because I guess it was a bar and restaurant before that. So it's that gray space around there. We kept it. And we're just gonna put our points of sales right around that bar. The brick, everything is staying the same. All of it is staying the same, and we're just really going to put the display cases in the area. But what this map is really, the floor plan is just to show you that we honored the reduction of the space, so that we're only using 17 while we have all of this. We're using the 1,700 square feet. That's all for floor space. And then the rest of that is backroom function. And then of course, to show you where the Wharf District Council community space will be. Let's see, if we move one more, this is they just carved out this space. This is the stairway, it's in construction. It'll look nicer than that, but that will lead into the community space for your equipment. And then right after that, you should see, this is what the new look will be on High Street.
High Street.
On High Street. No, you told us no, nothing on Broad Street. We're not touching, the only reason Broad Street is mentioned is because that's the only way, that's for the use of the WDC and your members, right? Because you wanted to get access into that room, and we have to separate that from the dispensary. And so we had to create an entryway for that, for you to be able to get in directly into the room. This is the front of the building. That's what it will look like. And that's pretty much, yeah, yes. And and I wanted to show you, we do have some lights that'll be up there, about 6 lights that'll be outside. And those will be what the lights will look like.
Suzanne has a question.
Yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead. Yes, please.
You show the awnings with the name. That is the name that you'll be doing business as?
That is Primitive, yes. That's the licensing agreement we have to use their branding and to sell their merchandise. We will not, that is it. They have stores in, I think, Michigan. That's the one that I'm familiar with. And I think Collins, it might be one more.
No, so there's one in Detroit, Michigan.
Yeah. And they've been doing the work. They've had a number of conferences here, I think, with MIT on this whole wellness and particularly the CTE research work. And we want to we want to delve a little bit deeper on that. And that was part of our deal with them to be able to take that work on. But the owner, they don't have any ownership rights. We are the owners. We're using their branding and we're using their connection to wellness in order to dig deeper into that research that they're doing. So if we're not selling, like the only thing we can sell is, for example, t-shirts, I guess. I mean, I'm not, you know, the things that the kids wear, t-shirts and sweatshirts and probably other types of merchandise, but not the cannabis. Cannabis can only be purchased in state.
And Marie, I know you would only be guessing at this point, but what's your best guess as to when you'll be open?
Oh, we're praying that we can get this done by April. We're waiting, again, it's just a waiting game. So we're hoping that by April that we're able to open. Would love it if it could be March, but we've actually started. I mean, we're getting ourselves ready. Like I indicated to you the last time we gave an update. We've started our hiring process. We found an amazing young woman who actually has some experience and who's from the area to be able to be our store manager. We're in the process of negotiating with her right now to close that deal. And we hope that at your next meeting will be real members and we'll also be able to introduce her to you.
Thank you. Questions for Marie? Great. I think that if I'm not mistaken, one of the things that that agreement requires is our approval of the exterior.
Yes.
So we will have executive session after this to vote on approval of the exterior that you have presented to us. But thank you very much for what you did to share that with us, and we're looking forward to having you as a member of the Wharf District community.
We're looking forward to it as well. So thank you for your time.
Great.
Thank you, guys.
It'll be fun.
Thanks, Marie. Thanks, Colin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Colin.
Is Luz on the call?
Yes,
Great.
I'm here.
Great. Luz, you guys have been incredibly busy lately with some very exciting stuff, which I think you're going to share with us. And are you going to share a presentation or just talk?
We are just going to talk. So yeah, so I think I've met most, if not all of you already, but just a quick introduction. I'm Luz Arregoces. I am Director of Community Relations at the New England Aquarium. And I'm joined today by my colleague, James Sutherland, who's our Associate Vice President of Public Policy and Advocacy. I think we were teed up very well by Councillor Coletta a few minutes ago about the need for coastal resiliency and the importance of making sure our coastline is protected. And James and I and our full team have been doing a lot of work recently on deploying some new legislation in the state for this session. So we're going to go through all of the bills that we're supporting. We'll try to go through somewhat briefly just for the sake of time. And we'll be happy to answer any immediate questions, or if there's any follow-up after this evening, I'll make sure you all have my contact information. We're more than happy to chat. So I'll start by the one that is probably the most relevant to this group, and then James will talk about some of our blue economy work. So first and foremost, we are supporting a bill that was presented by Senator Creighton and Rep. Ferrante, titled "An Act to Facilitate Greater Climate Resiliency." So we, as the Aquarium, have been saying for quite a while that there's a great need for collaborative, inclusive, resilient, and accessible planning for our waterfront. I think, and I believe we're going to hear about it in a little bit, the work that this group has been doing around a planning process is a great example of that, and we're very supportive there. And so to add on to there, we wanted to make sure that there's legislation that makes it possible to do resiliency projects along the coastline, to make sure that, you know, everything that's along the waterfront is still here years to come. So to do so, we are looking at Chapter 131 and Chapter 91 of our state laws. And essentially, right now it's very difficult to do climate resiliency projects along the coast because by nature they would have to alter the coastline themselves, which the law makes it pretty impossible to do. So the legislation we put forward makes it so that those projects are able to go through the general permitting processes. We made it so that they're not exempt to the permitting process, but have to go through to allow both government and the public to still have a say on these projects, but it does make it easier for them to go through, hopefully for approval. So we obviously just filed this and there's still a lot of work to do. And I know there's a lot of other groups who are focused on this issue, some who are on this call and others. So it's important to us to work, like I said, collaboratively with all of these groups to make sure that you know, what we put forward here makes sense for the community at large. And then I'll pass it over to James on our other bills, and then we can open it up maybe for some, if there are any questions.
Awesome. Thanks, Luz. Good evening, everyone. I'm James Sutherland, the Aquarium's Associate Vice President of Public Policy and Advocacy. As Luz mentioned, we're working with some legislators on filing bills this upcoming state legislative session, or the current one we're in. She covered the climate resiliency one. We're also working on a few in the blue economy space or ocean economy space. And a question I get a lot is, why is the Aquarium working in this space? So one of our pillars of work is promoting the responsible use of the ocean by industry. And we've been doing this work for decades at this point, consulting with companies working in our ocean. So Gorton Seafood is a partner of ours up in Gloucester. We have partnerships with offshore wind developers to monitor the wind lease areas off of Massachusetts to inform how we are constructing offshore wind in a way that avoids, minimizes, and mitigates any impacts on marine ecosystems. So we've been doing this work for a good amount of time. The bills that we are filing in this space, the first is around promoting a future blue economy that is based in conservation, equity, and science. And it creates 3 different grant programs to support that. So one for research and development of new technologies to solve complicated ocean problems. So think about our critically endangered North Atlantic right whale. One of the biggest threats facing it is vessel strikes. So how do we better tackle kind of spatial planning in the ocean and knowing where vessels are, where whales are, and identifying some solutions there. So that's just one example. There's plenty of others in other kind of aspects of our ocean economy, be it aquaculture, tourism, climate resiliency, you name it. The other 2 programs here, one is around funding education and training opportunities and job placement for students in environmental justice communities to access some of these blue or ocean STEAM career pathways. It's a growing industry, a growing sector of our economy, and we want to make sure everyone can kind of tap into the workforce opportunities there. And then lastly, it creates a bill or a new grant program within Mass Department of Environmental Protection to help businesses transition to a circular economy. So what is a circular economy? That is sort of an economic system that aims to reduce waste and maximize the use of current resources by keeping them in our economy. So the kind of classic example here is a milkman. Milkman drops off a bottle of milk at your doorstep. You don't just throw that bottle out. You return it to the milkman. You keep it in the economy as long as possible to ensure that we're reducing waste where we can. The second bill focuses on blue carbon, which is also kind of a unique term. But our oceans and coastlines provide sort of a natural way for reducing the impact of greenhouse gas emissions on our atmosphere through sequestering carbon or taking carbon in and absorbing it. Just like trees do, our ocean absorbs carbon, but it actually can be more effective than trees. But right now, our state doesn't have a targeted goal, positive goal for net carbon, blue carbon. So looking to set a goal, sort of a benchmark for where the state wants to go to ensure that our coastlines and our oceans are protected and or restored so that they continue to trap as much carbon as possible. and help us meet our greenhouse gas goals. The last bill focuses on the state's waste management plans and incorporates circular economy principles as a priority into those. So moving beyond recycling to the next kind of stage that's more sustainable, more conservation minded. We want to be promoting those ideas that will help reduce all the plastic pollution we suffer from and so much more. So there's a super high level kind of walk through the bills that we're filing. We're also working with other legislators on other bills in this area. So working with Representative Josh Cutler from the South Shore on a fisheries conservation gear program that will help fishers move away from rope gear to ropeless gear or on-demand gear, one of these other ocean technologies that we're looking into, to reduce the entanglement risk of marine species, highly migratory species, such as the North Atlantic right whale. We're also working on bills addressing ocean acidification with Senator Julian Sear and Rep. Dylan Fernandez out on the Cape. Ocean acidification is basically the decrease in pH in our ocean caused by the ocean absorbing so much carbon dioxide. And when it does that, the water becomes more acidic. It has far-reaching and damaging impacts on marine life, especially shellfish. So think lobsters, think oysters, and it's going to really impact our ocean economy here in Massachusetts that's so reliant on those industries. So that's kind of the high level. Happy to answer any questions, but thank you for having us.
It's such a huge agenda. First of all, let me just say congratulations to everyone at the aquarium who's been working on these really important issues. And, you know, anything that any of us can do to support what you're trying to do, I'm sure we'll be eager to do so, because it's this is motherhood and apple pie, right? This is the best, the best of the best. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Questions that people have about, I mean, we're obviously interested particular. Oh, Norm has a question. Please, Norm.
Yep, I actually have two questions, one for Luz and one for James. So hi, Luz, good to see you again. So on what you talked about changes to Chapter 91, I fully support changes to Chapter 91 for resiliency. It's great news because the Wharf District Council Climate Ready Task Force is going to need those in order to accomplish anything. I'm just concerned when you change something that's been on the books for so long, there's always the fear of loopholes that allow inappropriate development to occur. And are you being careful in what you're putting together to try to avoid those?
Yeah, I completely hear you. And that's something that others have asked us, and it's something we're thinking about internally as well. You know, I won't try to get into the technicals because I know my team can back me up more specifically, but it's definitely something we're thinking of. I think most importantly, we have personally taken the stance that, you know, bold change is necessary. I think it's been, to your point, you know, it's been a while without change. And I think now we're in a great position, both with government leaders, community leaders. There's a synergy there to make a bold change. So that's where we're headed. I can definitely find a more specific answer to your question after this from some of our team, but it's definitely, your question is definitely something that has been on our mind as well.
Okay, great, thank you.
I can chime in on that one a little bit. Just one of the actual legislative language in there talks about publicly beneficial resiliency projects. So there's sort of a guardrail there already because the projects have to be publicly beneficial. And as Luz mentioned earlier in the call, the city, the municipalities involved still have a say. So the projects are not exempt from permitting. They're not exempt from local review, but they are kind of deemed something else as a resiliency project that's needed. So it's definitely, we had that in mind drafting the legislation.
Thank you. I feel good to know that you had it in mind, that it was part of the plan. My second question, James, you had talked about as an example of your environmental bill, For example, the protection of the right whales against, boat strikes. And I was wondering, is that really a Massachusetts thing to do? Because, I would hate to see that, Massachusetts restricts boats out, in our waters, and New Hampshire and Maine does nothing.
Yeah, so regulation of boat speeds is all done at the federal level, and NOAA is talking about that right now, what that looks like. The example I gave was more around the science and R&D behind it. If there's a way to figure out how to navigate between whales and boats in a new kind of technologically savvy way, why not have that develop in Massachusetts? Why not fund or have the government fund some of those solutions and that R&D and get those businesses to start here in Massachusetts? So it's less about kind of dictating that and more about what are these kind of innovative solutions we can come up with, and then have Massachusetts-based businesses running those ideas.
Great, thank you. Thumbs up on your work, both of you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let me just see if I can go to larger screen here and see if others, does anybody else have questions that that they would like to have for Luz or for James? I'm not seeing any at the moment. Great, thank you both very much. That's it's great, and I'm sure this is going to take a while, but who better to champion those efforts than the New England Aquarium? So thank you, and I see that Luz included their emails, so if you have questions, you can do that. Terrific, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Get an executive summary of what you're proposing, so that we could get it on our website. I mean, the package that I have here is beautiful, but there's a lot of pages to it. So
yeah, for our legislation. Sorry, I couldn't hear the start of that, Suzanne.
Yeah, something summarized a little bit so that we can put what you're doing onto our website, and then people, of course, can be directed to wherever else you have it. But we'd like to.
Absolutely.
We'd like to make sure that that gets the exposure it deserves. So
yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I'll send that over.
Great. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Bravo. Yeah. Chris Cook, do you want to tell us a little bit about what the Greenway has planned?
I would be very grateful to do that, but because I was going to get some time, I wasn't going to use my time to raise my hand to congratulate the New England Aquarium on an incredibly important and incredibly ambitious agenda. It is so incredible. It's just so amazing with everything that nonprofits have going on with COVID recovery, especially one that has to run the business of the aquarium, that they are at the forefront of this environmental agenda speaks to their leadership. And we who are going to be the recipients of all of this amazing legislation are incredibly grateful. So Mark, is it okay for me to share my screen?
Please do.
Okay, great. And thank you to Suzanne for letting me join remotely. I'm a little bit more jet lagged than I anticipated. So thank you for that, Suzanne. So just very, very quickly, I wanted to give people an update on some pretty major programming announcements, and then try to build some excitement about a couple of different events. First off, I want to give you a high level presentation on what we're really excited about, which is a new program, which is the Momentum Dance Series. This is sponsored by Amazon, as well as the Greenway Business Improvement District. So the Rose Kennedy Greenway is going to be working with Peter DeMuro, who runs the Boston Dance Project out of Cambridge, and we're going to be working with Continuum Dance Project, Jean Apollon Expressions, Public Displays of Motion, as well as Vamoshka, to produce different site-specific dances in the park that will culminate in performances this September, and then a large one-day performance in October where all of these dances that are site specific to parts of the Greenway and are going to be rehearsed and choreographed in relationship to the history of the different sites on the Greenway, will have a large day of performance. So we're going to try to activate most of the 1.5 miles of the Greenway with this incredible diverse cohort of dance companies. And so you'll be receiving more information about this, but this is a new program for the Greenway. As many of you know, the Greenway is often the great recipient of other nonprofits or other producing companies. And, you know, we are sort of, we provide the setting or the site for a lot of different activations. So this is our first foray, like our public art program, into producing our own work. And so we're incredibly excited about this project, and you know, we're very, very excited about the diversity it represents. So you'll be receiving more information about that, but it's a nice complement to the other 350 events that we'll be having in the park this summer season, which, you know, I will also present a full summer preview to you when I have the opportunity to do so. I would be remiss if I didn't shout out that we have the gala on the Greenway coming up. And so I really, really hope to see as many, if not all of you there. And thank you to everyone who has supported so far. We have some amazing co-chairs this year. Helena Ajakayi, who is the executive vice president of, actually I got to change the title of this. It's not the Greater Boston Convention and Visitors Bureau anymore. It's actually Meet Boston. And former city councilor Matt O'Malley, who's now the chief sustainability officer of the Cindy. And next week, I will send you all an email because we'll be able to announce our honoree. She will be very familiar to you. And so we're excited about that, but we hope to see you all out there on June 8th, 2023. We had a huge success holding it at the Rings Fountain, and very, very grateful not only to the support of so many members of the Wharf District Council, but also for your support of having the location at the Rings Fountain. We felt it went very well, so we're going to be returning to that location again, and we look forward to coordinating with the Wharf District Council on managing any issues associated with the load-in or the use of the park, and certainly there are traffic implications there, so we'll work with all of you around that. But please, please, please support the event, and also if you know anyone who may be interested in supporting the event, new businesses that are moving in along the Greenway, please reach out to us and we will follow up on all that information. Also want to highlight, and I have to shout out Luz Arregoces when she's not saving the world with their amazing environment agenda at the New England Aquarium. She's co-chairing our Glow in the Park event, which is our young professionals event. That's also in the tent where we have the gala the next night. So Luz, thank you for doing that. That's on June 9th, 2023. Again, if anyone knows of any sponsors or anyone we want to follow up with, but this is an amazing event. This is for the young professionals in town to really cut loose, but also network with each other and have a really unique experience in a venue that is not available any other time of the year. So it's a really incredible event. It's very successful. It's a lot of fun. And it's in June 9th, and we're excited about that. And again, very grateful to the Wharf District because we realize that we are holding these events in a community. And so your support is very meaningful to us. Just a few other highlights really quickly.
So you have a question?
Yes, please.
Who's sharing the Glow in the Park with Luz?
Luz, who's your co-chair this year? Was Luz still on?
No, but you don't, okay.
Well, Connor Finley's is helping out, and I'll Google the other co-chair while I'm on the call.
He's here.
She's here.
So, sorry, you introduced yourself.
Jenny on?
Yeah, Jenny is here.
Oh, great. So Jenny's our other co-chair. So I didn't want to steal Luz's thunder if Luz was still on, so I wanted her to shout it out. So Jenny, incredibly grateful for everything you're doing, and also grateful for Connor's support. Jenny, is there anything you want to say about Glow?
No, just to be here.
Great, wonderful. Thank you.
I apologize, Mark. I will be in the room next time. It is hard for me to hear, and I apologize for not being in the room.
No, we're working it out still, but
And I.
Great.
It's just that Jenny happened to be here.
Right.
So it's.
Jenny
Right.
and Luz are killing it. So I didn't realize Jenny was there. So that's awesome. So just really quickly, we have a call for artists for Chinatown to continue our tradition of celebrating the Chinese zodiac calendar. That is closing actually this week. So if anyone knows of any artists who may be interested in supporting that, please do so. Also, if anyone is aware of any gyms or fitness professionals who want to respond to our call, as you know, our fitness program, which is, a major component of activations along the Wharf District Council parks, that call is closing this week. So if anyone knows of any instructors or professionals who might want to participate in that program, happy to do that. And also in honor of Black History Month, I just want to remind folks that if you want to visit a site that has incredible historic significance along the Greenway, Zipporah Atkins actually has a site in the North End. Zipporah Atkins was a female Black property owner who owned property in the North End where the Greenway is located, steps from the Freedom Trail, 100 years before the signing of the Declaration of Independence. It's just an amazing, largely unsung historical event in Boston, and something that we don't mention often enough, and we should mention well beyond just Black History Month as well. And with that, I'll stop sharing. Again, I want to thank everyone for all their support, and especially want to thank Luz and Jenny.
Great. Thank you, guys. It looks really fantastic. Questions for Chris? And remind everybody where we can learn about the other 350 programs.
So we do a very active calendar, but as is the expectation, again, we realize that, our parks are within the community. We will provide the Wharf District with a calendar of events that is site specific to just the Wharf District, but we will also send along our full summer programming when it's finalized over the next month and a half.
And Chris, what's the status of the discussions and plans relative to Trillium?
Yeah, so Trillium has another season with us upcoming, and then we actually are RFPing both of our drinkery locations this year. So in April at the latest, you will see a public request for proposals process, which will give the Wharf District Council and other community members really good time for input into the selection process and considerations that we should have in selecting a partner. But the two locations are going to be the traditional locations that we have, which are Parcel 18, right in front of the hotel where Trillium is located right now, as well as the traditional location of City Winery in Dewey Square.
And are you expecting those to be different providers, the same, or is that a given?
Well, so Dewey Square has changed quite a bit over time, whereas Trillium has been hugely popular, not only as a responsive partner to the community, but very, very successful. And frankly, it's been incredibly important to the Greenway's finances. That being said, the Trillium is a business, and the Greenway is a nonprofit, and so we hope to continue to partner with them. We think they're an excellent partner, but they would have to respond to that RFP.
Gotcha. Other questions for Chris? Great. Chris, thank you very much. Great stuff to look forward to, and great to have you as a neighbor.
Thank you so much, everyone. Appreciate it.
I think our last item is just the updates, right? So the Climate Resilience Task Force has its first draft in the early stages of review. There are still a couple of of property owners that have not completed their review. As soon as they do that, which I expect to happen the end of this month. And if that goes as we hope, then we will move into the phase of doing some renderings and illustrations that will make it easier for the public to understand. I've had, as I know John has, and perhaps Matthew, you also have had a chance to take a look at the early stages of it. Frankly, it's very, very dense. It's difficult for most people to understand who don't want to spend a lot of time on it. And so the illustrations should provide more more information to allow people to better appreciate what's in them. And I hope that ends up being part of what we use to explain it more broadly. So we should be ready for prime time if everything works out for the end of April. That's our goal at this point. And we are meeting with various electeds in the meantime so that we make sure that we don't leave anyone out of the process and that they have a chance to give us some input. Suzanne, if you want to talk about the volunteer day, which you may have to speak loudly about.
You know, every year we have our volunteer day on the Greenway.
Why don't you come? You want to come back here because I think we got to talk. Hang on a second. Yeah.
As you all know, every year we have our volunteer day on the Greenway. Actually, they do have a volunteer day, but ours is more of a volunteer evening. So once again, this year with our two co-chairs, Sheila Willard and Judy Ehrlich, have again offered to chair this with the Greenway staff, and we're going to have our volunteer day on June 15th. It's from 5 to 7 p.m. And if you're familiar with it, it's an enjoyable experience. You go out and do as much as you can or as little as you want to do, and whether it's weeding or picking up branches or cutting bushes, or it's you get a chance to meet your neighbors and people that you don't know, and a lot that you do know. And I added this picture here to the meeting agendas so that you could just get an idea as to who we are and you know, a little bit of what we do.
We do pizza afterwards,
And
right?
we do
Pizza and beer.
beer and pizza at Trillium, and compliments of the Wharf District Councils.
Tito, are you going to help with the weeding part?
You can spur on more.
Yeah.
Yes, last year when we had the pizza delivered at Trillium, and boxes of pizza, and all these people who were customers at Trillium feel like looking at these pizza boxes, and they're just, the faces are just so sad. And I have people coming up to me asking me if they could buy a piece.
Yeah. $1 million.
Yeah, yes.
All right.
And I thought, gee, I'm in the wrong business here. So we, you know, once our group had a slice or two, we just offered everybody the box, you know, the pizzas, and they were just so appreciative. I think that was the happiest event at Trillium has ever had.
Great. So June 15th, keep your.
So I hope there'll be an email going out asking folks to RSVP and participate. And I hope you'll consider doing it. It's, you know, it's 2.5 hours that you've done it, John.
Yeah. And it was the first year I did, I remember saying to myself, gave up a single family home in yard work so that I could. Here I am on my knee, weeding and pulling, but it was very nice, everything you mentioned, getting to meet our neighbors, some of them I knew, some I met that evening, the gathering afterwards, and the 2 hours went by.
And you get to meet the Greenway staff
Yeah.
and chat about what's going on and what the Greenway are doing, so. I hope you'll consider being part of it with us. I know you've done it.
Yes. Other thoughts before we go into executive session? Anybody else? Any questions?
Well, I'm so pleased to see so many here tonight. I thought it might be just like 5 of us.
Yeah.
You know, we're trying to start having the in-person.
Right. That's the plan. Stephen, thank you for making the room available for us.
And I see Sierra's here. Sierra's our neighborhood liaison.
All right.
So
Nice to see you. Happy to be in person tonight.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
I don't know if there's anything you need to share.
No major updates. To talk about what we briefly talked about, the city is trying to redesign the neighborhood signs. I know the Wharf district itself doesn't really have mayor welcome to Boston sign, but I talked to my leadership team about potentially getting one over here. So if you know of any local artists that might be available or interested in that, you can take my email down.
Somebody.
Yeah, and because I know me and Suzanne were talked about today, your graphic email.
Right.
So, and then we have like a poetry internship. I can share this out with you guys if you want to, but other than that, no really major updates right now. I'm always here if you guys need me.
Great. And please.
I just wanted to thank the Wharf District Council for your support. Apex and Water Cannabis has opened. I believe that 80% of the people here are ages 21 or older. Legally make that announcement. We were the first specifically Wharf District area. We have a 7-story facility. The first 2 stories are good now. That is a cannabis dispensary. And we actually also have purchased liquid. There was a restaurant in the building, and so we will also have a roof deck bar that will be open again 21 plus. And we are looking for people time. So I just want to thank you for your support. Also, the ease of being able to access this organization. So the great ideas that you gave us. So we are really to be
Congratulations, Stephen.
Anybody else have anything they'd like to bring before the council?
I would just like to say hi again. My name is Fern Bent-Mullings. I am the assistant general manager at the Hall Marketplace, as well as a board member of the Greenway Conservancy and the Greenway District. So I serve on both. I'm very close apart. Thank you. And I mentioned to Suzanne, like I would love to get on the agenda at an upcoming meeting, provide an update on what's happening at Faneuil Hall.
Great.
A lot of events happening this summer, so just would like to provide an update and be a good neighbor. Hear any questions, concerns that you all might have.
Great. Well, you're welcome, Jenny. We'd love to have you join us. So thank you very much. Anything else? Anyone?
I know Senator Edwards representative is here.
Great.
So-
Thank you for joining us.
I'm Ben. I'm that's not good. We can name the chair. The chair of the joint committee.
Great. We again would like to get on Senator's calendar at some point to be able to share what the Climate Resilience Task Force is doing. So if that's something you can assist with, we'd certainly appreciate that. And do you know how to get in touch with
Yeah,
them?
right,
Great.
we'll be in touch.
Great.
Is there anyone?
Anything else? No? Great, all right, could we just,
Is there anyone from the children's?
well, Charlene is here, but, did you guys want to say something or you?
That, but is 600,000 are active. The audience.
Can you send us the information?
Great.
Mike is our VP of philanthropy. It's fine, it's for you.
And Charlene and Mike, we're ready to share with you guys what we've got so far. So whenever you want to set that up, happy to do that. Great. Thank you all. We'll just have members stick around for a quick vote on our on the dispensary.